Hello everyone, this is Kim with Abundant Life Tarot, and we are doing our Herbcrafters Tarot study group. My apologies for the delay. I went to the Northwest Tarot Symposium and then instantly after that went traveling on business. So it's been nonstop travel for me. So I'm actually doing this little study group session in my hotel room, believe it or not. So yeah, so bear with the poor lighting situation and all of that. Thank you. So we are now discussing the Empress. Yeah, the Empress. Oh, hold on. I'm getting reacquainted with the positioning. Not used to it. So taking this all in, we've already did a deep dive before with the Empress in part 2A of the, this part of the video series. And we discussed it and I probably mentioned my own experiences. So I thought it would be interesting to take a look at the Empress in the Rider-Waite-Smith, the traditional. After being at the Northwest Tarot Symposium, I saw a lot of Rider-Waite-Smiths, and it just got me feeling all warm and fuzzy. Like I definitely need to incorporate it. So, back into my practice. So that's what we're doing. And I like to just kind of look at this and take in some of the similarities. So we have almost similar coloring even. And there's pomegranates in the Empress's, in the Rider-Waite-Smith Empress's dress. We've got yellow background. It's a fertile, creative time for the Empress. You get similar shading and color. This beautiful red, like peppers and tomatoes, I believe, in rose hip and roses and petals from roses, a rosary. And then over here you've got, she's sitting in a garden. And I love both. I love both here. And here we have what I think about roses and how they grow, and they're, the cycles of roses, for example, their growth cycles is that too of the Empress, right? With the ebbs and flows of cycles of growth. There's a period of, the springtime for the Northern Hemisphere, for example, of when I guess I'm thinking about springtime is like coming very shortly in the next couple of weeks for the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm thinking about roses blooming and going through this time of just, if we think about ourselves, ideas being birthed, at this time, and growth of opportunities, a physical birth of, a birth of a project or a business or a plan of some sort, or of a relationship. And then, it goes through a different season where it eventually, it reaches a point where it kind of needs to die off and the leaves draw away and die. And then it goes through another, a cycle of growth. So I have some questions or study group questions that I'm going to pose for you, and I'm going to pose for myself. I'll answer a couple. I might not answer all of them, but they will be posted so you can work with them. The first question is, do you know the herbs featured in the Major Arcana card? In this case, the Major Arcana card. And if so, do they speak to the Rider-Waite Smith card meaning why or why not. And in this case, I do, for the most part, know, and look at the honeycomb too in the shape of a heart. That is so glorious. Like the beautiful queen bee, if you think about it. There is no bees located here, but that's what comes to my mind. And I don't know, I definitely think that when I look at both cards together, that the Herbcrafters may or may not have been striving to be like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Empress. But whether they did or did not, they, in my eyes, they were successful in getting a vibe of Empress energy. I really think so. And for me, lots of different things can come up when I see this Empress card. So if we look at the little white book for the Empress, it says fruitfulness, try not to get a glare, fruitfulness, initiative, action, long days, clandestine, the unknown, difficulty, doubt, ignorance. And then the reverse, which is interesting, it says light, truth, the unraveling of involved matters, public rejoice. Also, according to another reading, vacillation. Interesting. So this is the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, or Smith-Waite, I should say, the Smith-Waite Centennial Tarot. And then if we look at, let's look here. According to the Herbcrafters Tarot, it says, Rosa species, be vulnerable yet strong, nurture love and compassion, see beauty and abundance in every stage of life. A honey-colored work table is covered in wild roses. Fall leaves are arranged in a crown. And I believe I read this in part 2A. But I'll read the second paragraph here in the guidebook. It says, healing the heart heals the world. Learn to be vulnerable yet strong, like the delicate petals of the rose protected by thorns. Roses uplift the spirit and inspire love. Embody sensuality in bold, vibrant ways. Let creativity and abundance flourish around and within you. Wild roses are prolific, creating food, medicine, and shelter for all who encounter them. As all parts of the rose contain medicine, every stage of your life finds passion and expression. Create, make, love, play. It is a fertile, generative time. I love that. And I'm going to skip number 2, and I'll include it as a question, though, in case you're not familiar with rose as species. It says personal research for cards you don't know in your personal research. So you may have to look up the card if you aren't familiar with it, is basically what this question is speaking to. And then I ask, in your personal research, does this card speak or pop out to you? Does anything resonate for you? Why or why not? Number 3, imagery or symbols found in the cards. What speaks to you? And in this case, for me, what speaks to me? And like I mentioned before, I'm loving the honeycomb here because, like both guidebooks indicate, it is a form of action, and not just any kind of action, a work action, of creativity, of working for the higher purpose, working for the greater good, working towards something that's going to be creative, be loving, be nurturing, be accepting, and in turn probably very much well loved and well received. So I really love the honeycomb. I love the tone of the card itself. I mean, when I see both of them, I definitely feel like this is a fertile time, as we would want to see it with the Empress, as you would expect. And she could be with child or not. And this one, no, there are people, not a lot, but there are people who get a little turned off by the whole notion of a pregnant woman, as what represents the Empress energy. However, obviously, the Herbcrafter's Tarot does, you can definitely work with this, I think, if you aren't really into that. So, let's see. What are your personal card meanings that you've assigned to the featured card? What are my personal card meanings? Like I said, it's a time of, or a cycle. Now you have entered the cycle of where things are blooming. You've done the work of planting the seed in the past. You planted the seed. It needed time to take root and to grow. And now you're in a bloom. Whatever it is that you were hoping for to manifest is now a bloom, now starting to really come out and bear fruit, and you're able to see and be able to continue to nurture it and to do what it takes to continue for growth to happen, for continual growth to happen. Definitely, I resonate with the word generative. It is a generative time with the Empress. A generative time. Okay, well, we could spend all day with the Empress, but we're going to move on because I'm doing my work, but I also want you to do your work so we can have further discussion. Definitely join my Facebook group, Abundant Life Tarot, and it says Facebook group. I have it like that where it says group at the end to differentiate between my Facebook group and then my Facebook page. My Facebook page is for my Abundant Life Tarot business and Etsy shop, and then Abundant Life Tarot group is for folks who want to maybe discuss these videos amongst a community. Me. I'm the main part of the community, plus a few friends. So, anyways, let's move on to the next card. We are moving on to the Emperor. And it says Hemlock. Now, this one, I will probably have to answer all the questions to the best of my ability because I didn't really know what hemlock was, to be honest. And here's the Emperor from the Smith-Waite Centennial Tarot deck. So you definitely get that structure, that, man in charge or leader in charge, not necessarily man, but wow. You've got, that structure and law and order here. Everything in line. You can even see the hard lines of this, just the structure here of the throne that the Emperor sits on, as compared to, I guess this is hemlock here. And when I started to see, when I saw the little sprigs here, I realized I have seen this before. And I'll say this. At first, I wasn't sure what this was. So when I did a Google search on hemlock, what first came up was the poisonous species of hemlock. So I was like, oh my goodness, that's interesting, because when I thought about it, when I looked up how, it could be toxic to the system, this other species, I I thought, wow, with this Emperor, it can be toxic, you know, sometimes if like it came into reverse, like too much masculine, toxic masculine energy can become poisonous to the societal systems, or to a relationship. So even if you didn't do reversals, you just know like, wow, you know, you have to be careful with this because it can go too far to the extreme where we all work better in a balance of yin and yang energy, of Empress and Emperor energy. So I thought it was interesting that in my research, in my attempt to research this, because that's question number 2. Well, we'll go through the questions, but in my research, I'll just say this. I found the toxic species, but the species that this deck is referring to is not the toxic one, to be clear, because I'll go into a little more detail in a minute when we look at the guidebook, but there is a distinction. And so, yeah. Now, the first question is we have, do you know the herbs featured in this card? And if so, do they speak to the Waite-Smith or Smith-Waite, in this case, card meaning? Why or why not? And I would say yes, especially when you see this here. Now, the trees that grow, when I found out, okay, it's not the poisonous one. It's actually a species that grows up in the northwest, as far north as Australia, and as far south as Sonoma County, California. The Emperor hemlock, or the hemlock tree, I've seen before. I've seen these little things here, these little sprigs too. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I had family who used to live in Sonoma County, and I've passed through Sonoma County on occasion, going up north. So I've seen this before. I've seen them like on the forest floor bed. And so I was like, okay, they're beautiful, tall trees. They kind of look like the evergreen redwoods, but not really. These little sprig things are different. I do know that. But yes. So as I started to think about it, when I learned where this particular species found in the guidebook or in this image, I was like, oh, this reminds me of home. I'm like, wow, how cool. Okay. And it is structured. They're kind of tall, imposing at times, but they provide that structure, the boundaries setting, and the organization needed to have things kind of run in the forest, if you will, and in this case, in the empire. So if we look at, how are we doing on time? I try, like I said, not to go beyond 30 minutes with my tarot study videos. I'm doing it this way, like I mentioned in another video, or in a later video, but in the future, I'm just going to run through the questions going forward. So it's going to be just one video, not 2 videos for each set of 3. It'll just be one video, but I had to kind of go through the 2 that I did, if that makes any sense. I had to, because now I'm going in depth looking at different things with the cards and answering my study group questions. So with this card, we have the Emperor here as stability, power, aid, protection, a great person, conviction, and reason. Nice. In reverse, benevolence, compassion, credit, also confusion to enemies, obstruction, immaturity. I would take, yeah, and this man is quite mature. Oops, sorry for the glare. Quite mature. And then we look at number 4, the Emperor. So this species is Suga heterophylla. Suga heterophylla. Suga with the T silent or the S silent. Oh, no. My bad. My apologies. The T is silent. Suga heterophylla. It says build strong boundaries, a sturdy structure, supports abundant growth, own your authority. Okay. And I am going to read some of the excerpts here from the paragraphs. A square mandala lies on a wooden table. An 8-point star made of hemlock cone forms the centerpiece. 4 small houses crafted of branches grow out of the star. Sprigs of hemlock, separated by yellow petals, adorn the top and bottom. Hemlock cones and tips form an expansive rectangle framework around the piece. A strong foundation and a safe environment build a solid future. Hemlock is ideal for framing houses because it is a soft wood that toughens with age. Trust your boundaries. They may feel pliable at first, but they will strengthen over time. By creating the conditions for other plants to thrive, hemlock is an important part of a healthy ecosystem. Build a reliable scaffolding on which your sacred work can grow. Step into leadership with confidence. I love that. And then crafting with the Emperor according to the Herbcrafter's Tarot, as you can frame an altar with hemlock. Place objects representing what you want to protect inside. Drink vitamin-rich hemlock tea to support your body during intense creative or spiritual growth. Embody the power of the hemlock. Stand tall with your crown reaching to the sun and your roots firmly in the earth. Important note, we refer to the evergreen conifer tree, Suga heterophylla. Can't even say that. Oops, sorry guys, I'm all moving the card around. Not the dangerous Herbcrafter flowering plant, poison hemlock, Conium maculatum. So, in other words, not the poisonous one. So when they were saying to drink vitamin-rich hemlock tea, they're talking about Suga heterophylla. So that's that. We still have some time before the 30 minutes, so I'm going to move on to the Hierophant, because I think we can do that next. So the Hierophant is cacao, and here is the Hierophant. And I am a little bit familiar with this. A little bit familiar, but not really, to be honest. Like when I kept thinking of cocoa, and I don't know, I don't think this is the same thing. I did a little Google research, but it still was kind of like, well, it's something different. I also, interestingly enough, I got a lot of conflicting information about cacao. On one hand, it's the next best thing since sliced bread. You can drink it like coffee every day. You know, it's good for you. And then on the other hand, people are saying it's damaging to the kidneys. It could change your moods. It could be like really bad for you. You know, people get addicted. It's almost this kind of like a hallucinogen at times, but really not really. So it's a bunch of like a lot of conflicting information when I tried to do some research on it. So when I thought about that, that made me think, wow, the Hierophant really is like that. You know what I mean? Like when you think about sometimes the Hierophant energy, aside from the meaning of like tradition, discipline, like bureaucratic entities, government, churches, schools, or universities, the whole tax system, you know, not tax system, but like the ancient scholarly studies of things, the church, all of those things can either be really good for us or be toxic and turn on us. And sometimes it could feel like a hallucinogen and feel heady, and it kind of takes over, and sometimes it can feel like your prison, just depending, It's not bad, it's not good, it is what it is when it shows up. It shows up in those societal norms, it shows up in those things that require us to try to have some sort of discipline and moral standard. And it can feel a bit boxing and, limiting for some of us who want to live an unorthodox life. But on the other hand, what I love about this card is it does leave more room for the meaning about spirituality and ritual with the Hierophant that is here, yes, in the traditional card. But it can sometimes get a little lost, especially for those of us who are a little scarred by our prior church experiences. So there's that. But this is a more gentler approach to what's beautiful about the Hierophant, that piousness, that discipline, that unification. Like, it could symbolize the actual, marriage in terms of the spiritual union, and also the societal eyes or views of the union. And so if we look at the Hierophant, marriage alliance, captivity, servitude, mercy and goodness, inspiration, the man to whom the querent has recourse. In the reverse, for the centennial, society, good understanding, concord, over kindness and weakness. Sorry for the glare, still getting used to this lighting situation in here. And then if I look at the Hierophant over here, let me go there. Cacao. The species is Theobroma cacao. A revelation is at hand. Seek the truth in spiritual teachings. The most potent wisdom emerges from the heart. Oh my gosh, the lighting is killing me. A clay pot of ceremonial cacao sits on an ancestral tapestry decorated with pink primrose blossoms. A basalt mortar holds roasted cacao beans, a cinnamon stick, and a chili. A replica of an ancient incense burner in the shape of a woman emerging from a hill of cacao rests on a pile of raw beans in unopened pods. A decorative molinillo lies on the tapestry, having already stirred and frothed the walnut brown elixir. The secrets of the sacred are available to all. Learn them, teach them. Drinking pure cacao is an ancient practice that leads to a greater perceptive awareness by opening the heart. Commercial chocolate is cacao stripped of its beneficial properties, cloaked into delicious yet harmful ingredients. Only true cacao can open the capillaries and increase blood flow. Spiritual teaching must speak authentically to reach the heart, but some things must be revealed slowly, as too much cacao can cause the pulse to quicken. Learning too much too fast can overwhelm. Have patience with the pace of the divine. Remain devoted to mystery, yet have respect for ceremony. I love that. Crafting with the Hierophant. Create or participate in a cacao ceremony and listen for an epiphany. Number 2, you can enjoy true chocolate. Find an ethical source of whole cacao beans. Dip them in vanilla honey. Yeah. Number 3, enhance your perceptive abilities by learning about heart intelligence at heartmath.org. Lovely. The next question. So I talked to you all about my personal research of this card, so we won't go into that again. Imagery and symbols found in the card. What speaks to me. We have, just like I mentioned before about the ritual here, that's what really speaks to me. The ritual claw, you could tell that this is something that is thought carefully over, and that there's going to be partaking in this. To me, I'm thinking of consumption, of willing consumption, of the knowledge of what's in these cups here. I really enjoy this card very much for the Hierophant. And yeah, I'm not going to go into number 4 for time's sake, because like I said, I want to keep it to 30 minutes for these videos. So we will next explore the cards. So after the Hierophant, we're moving into the Lovers, we're moving into the Chariot, and Strength is the next segment. So I believe we'll probably just answer the questions going forward. And I'm thinking we're going to continue to throw in other cards. The last video or two, I used oracle cards to help kind of draw out some of the meaning. And I may do that again in the upcoming videos. I may do that in addition to using the Centennial, or maybe I'll just use the Centennial. I'm really enjoying that, because I think it really is helpful in really grounding our understanding, especially for those of us who are Rider-Waite-Smith school, like that's our home school, if you will, our home room. And so that's what really helps us to really make these connections to these cards that otherwise we wouldn't really have the connections. So I'm hoping that you are finding this helpful. For me personally, I'm finding it helpful. It is helping me to gain a deeper relationship with the Herbcrafters Tarot, I'll be honest. And since coming back from the Tarot Symposium, I'm falling back in love with the traditional Smith-Waite deck that I have here. So that's exciting. So anyways, that's it, guys. I want to keep this video at this point. Love you all. See you all in the next video.